Hello, everybody, and welcome to Move, Crush, Count. Today's interview is sponsored by J&L Marketing. J&L is a digital and direct marketing agency that delivers results with strategies that help you outsmart competitors so you don't have to outspend them. I want you to check out jnlmarketing.com, and they'll save you hours of time by doing a free competitive analysis that delivers the most actionable, tactical, and timely digital marketing tips you need so you can move the crowd, crush the competition, and count the money. Make sure to check out movecrushcount.com for more. Hit your subscribe button so you can get notified on future guests and episodes. The title of today's interview is 7 Financial Planning Questions Every Business Leader Needs to Know the Answers to. My name is Scott Joseph, and today I'm talking with financial planning expert Claudio Gambin about the frequently asked questions people have about financial planning and aligning your business decisions with your financial goals. Welcome, Claudio.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Yes, it is. Now, Claudio, he's a well-known expert when it comes on the subject of financial planning. He's graciously agreed to join the MCC Nation today for this interview so we can discuss how to gain peace of mind, clarity, and certainty in your business and your finances. So if you want to pay less in taxes, you want to secure your future, you want to optimize your finances, now is the time to tune in. Welcome again, Claudio. So first thing I want to do, Claudio, is that if there are people out in the audience that do not know you, let's start with a few quick questions here so people can understand your background, where you get your experience in the field of financial planning. I want everybody to understand who you are, where you're coming from, how you got started, things like that. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of your background, your education, and your experience specifically as it relates to financial planning?
Yeah, of course. So we've been in business since 2009. And, as you can probably imagine, starting in the financial advisory and planning world in 2009 was a great idea. So we started off inside of a big box firm back in 2009. When I say we, I say me and my business partner. And graduated out of University of Central Florida with an entrepreneurship and finance degree. And at that time, there just really wasn't much of a job market. So it just kind of made sense to just create your own business. And in terms of the background of the firm, we went into a big mutual company, like one of those big brokerage firms, and really kind of learned the grassroots style of financial planning, wealth management, insurance, that sort of stuff. And it took about a couple of years to really get some traction. But around 2012, 2013, we really found a lot of joy and effectiveness in working specifically with business owners and entrepreneurs. I don't know exactly what it was about that one specific niche, but we just got along, right? Because I think entrepreneurs speak the same language, so they just tend to get along. So in 2013, we decided to completely pivot our practice and work specifically with business owners. And, since then, that's it. That's all we've been doing is entrepreneurs, business owners of growing companies. And, being 2022, it's been a little bit under 10 years of interviewing 5, 6, 7 business owners a week on what they do, how they do it, what parts of their business is working, what's not working, to really help develop and grow not only what we can do for them, but also develop and grow ourselves. So
wait a minute. I have to ask. So you had some type of genius aha moment where you thought, wow, maybe I should find my niche, I should ask clients what their pain points are?
Crazy, right? But it wasn't just that, right? It was a pinnacle moment in my life because we were finding a lot of success, and our general go-to market strategy, Scott, was if you could fog a mirror and had a social security number, you were a great client for us, right? And being the individual who does anything for anyone, as you know, in the marketing space, isn't the best approach to really growing and scaling a successful business. I hired a coach at the time to really help me double down and identify strengths, weaknesses at a personal and business level. And that coach said, "Hey, Claudio, why don't you do a study of your client base on the individuals that you drove the most amount of value to? So make a list of your top 25, top 30 individuals you drove the most amount of value to, you believe that you did. And then the individuals that you actually had the most amount of fun, most amount of joy working with." And believe it or not, they were like almost the same list. And to me, I was like, okay, because I'm having so much fun truly working with these types of individuals, I'm actually doing a much better job and, in fact, driving a ton more value. And that was the aha moment of, great, that's our niche. That's what we're going to become experts at. And then how do we become experts at something that there isn't really a class or a certification or any one specific program that's going to teach you how to be a consultant and a financial planner specifically for entrepreneurs?
You know what I
Well,
love about that is that burns a candle at both ends, right? I mean, you're sitting there, obviously that adds much more value because you're much more focused on the type of client you're helping the most. But it's a lot easier to do that when you're having fun doing it. And so the fact that that aligned with you in it's easier to become more passionate and excited about what you're doing, waking up every day, going to
yeah,
work and doing it when you're
absolutely.
enjoying the process. So I love that. What kind of roadblocks did you face early on, as you kind of worked your way into this niche and got it cranking?
Well, first and foremost is developing the right value proposition for the entrepreneur, because wealth management and business ownership and entrepreneurs, if you really think about it, they kind of compete, right?
Yep.
So finding the right value proposition so that we could really become the right individuals to be sitting in the room. That was one big roadblock. The second one was I was 24 and I was young and I had really 2 or 3 years of business experience. So for me to walk into someone that's been running a business for 12 to 15 years and be able to give them advice, I really needed to show up with expert level information. So those were the kind of the two biggest ones.
You know, that's interesting. When I started J&L, I was 22 years old, and I was going into these guys that were spending tens and some hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in marketing and trying to tell them how to do it.
Yeah.
And my gut tells me, looking back for you, that and tell me if I'm wrong. So you might look at it and say it was a little bit of a roadblock, but mentally it wasn't a roadblock to you, because if it was, you probably wouldn't have pursued it at that age, would you have?
No, and looking back, it's a roadblock, but at the time, it was just normal.
Yeah.
It was just part of business. And what I didn't see then that I see now is the roadblock was the value proposition.
Yeah.
Because what I learned from tackling that roadblock was something that I could repackage and deliver to the client as the value prop.
Man, there's so many different ways this interview could go, because there's part of me. So for the value of our audience, we're going to get
Yeah,
to very specific questions that help them when it comes to
sure.
financial planning. But man, there's a part of me that wants to do a follow-up interview with you in terms of how, because this is what drives me, right? How people build and grow their own businesses.
Yeah.
And I'm loving when you talk about value proposition, because there's a lot of business owners or executives and leaders out there that don't fully understand the value or the importance of understanding what your niche is, finding the right niche, and then creating a true value proposition and working and having everybody just row in that direction and understanding it completely.
I mean, you just described my entire business model to a
Yeah.
T,
Yeah.
right? Because the world I live in today on the consultancy level it exists only because of that. Most business owners do not have all of their advisors rowing in the same direction. You got one
That's
guy
right.
rowing right and the other guy rowing left, and you're just spinning in circles. Your
Well,
CPA is doing one thing and your attorney is doing something else, and it's a mess.
and everybody wants to chase what they think is low fruit. They don't always understand, oh, here's an opportunity here, and we could go after this market, and we could do this, and we can do that. And they see all these things, and maybe they got a lead somewhere, but they don't take into account the time and the effort that it takes to really do right by that person that might be in a different business vertical, if that's the case, or going something outside of what you're really great at, And so one of the things that we try to do as well is just stay focused on what we're great at. That's what we do, and don't sit there and try and be everything to everybody. And the other thing is, when you're marketing yourself, right? When you're trying to be everything to everybody, you're also trying to market yourself and be everything to everybody, and then you appeal to no one. So it's also hard to grow a business in terms of creating the buzz and the momentum and the leads and all that stuff that's needed when you're scattered all over the place. So I love what you're doing there. What was one of your first breakthroughs? So I guess, going back and sitting there and saying, "Oh, wow, look at the way these two list." I mean, I would argue that that's probably one of your breakthroughs, was it not?
Without a doubt. I mean, the minute we married those lists, identified where we wanted to be, we were then very, very clear. I mean, one of the things you say is, when you market to everybody, you effectively market to nobody. And one of the huge benefits of identifying who that target market is, who that niche is it allows you to say no to the wrong people, right? Because the minute you say yes to one individual, you are effectively saying no to somebody else. Life is a zero-sum game. We have a finite amount of time, and by using 1 hour with one client, you are not using that hour with another client, right? So for us, identifying that was a huge win. But the other biggest and most impactful part of breakthrough, I guess we can call it, is learning that the golden rule of working with an entrepreneur and a business owner. So for the audience listening today, this is key on the financial planning side. And if you happen to be in the financial planning space and you're listening today and you work with business owners, this is key. Don't compete with the business. So for when I was talking about wealth management and business owners tend to kind of butt heads, is because as a wealth management individual, my job is to get you as a business owner to invest money with me.
Correct.
Okay. But what I'm going to invest money in isn't you. I'm going to invest in Apple or Microsoft or Walmart. So effectively, what I'm asking you to do is to not invest in your own stock, to go and invest in someone else's stock. Right. And I think that's just inherently competition. So for a lot of times when we're talking to business owners about financial planning or wealth management, the first thing we start with, and this is the biggest breakthrough back in the day, was don't compete with the business. I'm not here to compete with your business. I'm here to help you double down on you. So what strategies can I bring to the table to help you take you to the next level? Because most of the time, I can almost say all of the time, the ROI that the business owner drives in their own business will outperform anything else that's out there.
Yeah.
Like, if you just think through the market, the S&P 500 over the last 10 or 20 years, an average of 12%. Most business owners have a higher margin than that.
What would you say when it comes to financial planning? What's different now versus when you got started?
Well, I mean, everything. I mean, we could take that answer in so many different ways. When we first got started, we were really entering a bull market. We were really entering kind of a high economic growth zone. We really weren't aware of what was happening, but you had a really good idea of what was happening. Compared to today, in my opinion, I think we're on the tail end of that. Right? I think, go ahead.
Well, I just want full disclosure with the audience, right? So I've contracted you, right?
Yes.
And one of the reasons I'm excited about doing this show and this episode is because I feel I'm definitely obviously in your niche in terms of your target audience, right? And so there are people out there that are very good at what they do. All right. Hold on a second here. I want to get this. I want to make sure they update the your banner. So
it's okay.
No.
It'll lead
I'll
them to
get
the
that
right
fixed.
place.
All right. So there are people out there that they may be very successful, like you just said, focusing on themselves, what they do with
Right.
their business, and really focusing there. And when you're focusing it, that doesn't mean you're an expert and knowing what you're supposed to do in your personal finances. And even if you are good at that, it doesn't mean it can become overwhelming because there's so many different things. You're sitting there. I equate it to digital marketing, right? Every one of our digital marketing clients wants their account fully optimized. They want it operating on all cylinders. They want to know that when they contract us, they're not the ones coming up with all the ideas. They want to be able to turn that over to us, know that they're reaching peak levels, and they want to tune in, see the results, and participate without little effort or on their part, right? Or why contract us?
Right.
It's the same thing I want with someone when it comes to financial planning and advising me, wealth management. And so one of the things that I loved, and one of the things I said earlier is, how do you gain, if you're someone like myself, how do you gain peace of mind, clarity, certainty that what you're doing is the right way to go and it's being handled for you correctly? And that's what appealed to me with your model. That's what I wanted to introduce, because I think there's a lot of people out there, I think everyone's like me, right? And so, which I know is not true, but I want to make sure that I'm not leaving money on the table. I'm not taking full advantage of where my opportunities are, because first off, I don't know all about them, and I don't have the time to sit there and dive in and learn it all the way I need to, right? And so for me, when I think of companies like yourself, I want to introduce you to into our audience, because I think there's a lot of business leaders out there, whether they're owners, high-level executives, that are all looking for something like that. And so I want to get into specifics on things they can do, because you've taught me a lot, and I want to kind of get into that and start
Sure.
showing these people what to do. I mean, you care if we get into some specifics?
No, let's go. We can go as granular as you'd like.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
the one thing that I do want to make sure we at least touch on today
yep,
is kind of looking forward into the future, because a
yep,
lot of the work that we've done together, a lot of the work that we're doing with our clients is preparing them for what's coming, and
yep,
not as a scare tactic, but more of knowledge is power, right? And not everyone listening today is going to ultimately engage our firm, but if we can deliver something to them that helps them be prepared for this next economic cycle, then we did a great job, and we won effectively,
yep.
and that's the impact that we ultimately want to drive.
All right. So let me ask you this question. So first off, let's start off real simple. How do you get started fast when it comes to financial planning? All of a sudden, I'm like this guy, and I'm like, besides saying call me. So if just the normal person, what are some fast things that people can do real quick to get started in the right direction?
I think the biggest piece would be finding a fiduciary, looking for someone that's working on a plan-based recommendation, not a product-based recommendation. Work with somebody that is on an independent platform, not in one big box firm. Nothing wrong with big box firms, but you will find a different level of advice there than you will on the independent platform.
Why
Uh,
is that?
so again, coming from the experience, I've been in both worlds. The independent platform does not incentivize you to do one thing over another from a financial perspective, right? So like on the independent platform, whether you do this or that, or this investment or that insurance, it's relatively the same compensation model. Okay.
Yep.
Versus on a big box firm, you will find that there are bonus that maybe advisors can hit if they sell a certain amount of this product, or there are different incentives if they invest in this fund. And again, I'm talking in very general terms here, so I'm not dogging anybody, but I have seen that if you want to get started in financial planning fast, you follow 3 rules. 1, you find a fiduciary. What that means is someone that works on a fee basis, not on a commission basis.
So
Okay?
I want to pause you right there because that's one of the things I love. I don't think everyone understands how important that is. So I'm not going to tell anybody the amount you charge me, but I will say it's a flat fee. And what I love about that is that I can call you and I don't feel like I'm getting nickel and dime by getting these bills of hourly charges. It's one thing I cannot stand. The attorneys in the office won't like to hear this, but I can't stand that because first off, I can't track the hours properly on my end, nor do I want to. And so there has to be so much trust involved with that. And it just looks over the top ridiculous. I just want to pay you a fee. Is the fee worth it to me? And then can you save me a certain amount over that fee? Right. And that's so what you're saying there, I think it simplifies and simple. I'll quote Michael Porro, a good friend that simple gets done, right? And so I love that approach.
Yeah, so the fiduciary gets compensated on a flat fee model, not just on a commission model. And the reason that's important is because it eliminates bias from the recommendation, okay? The second thing is the independent platform, so that you know that whoever you're working with has access to everything, okay? The big box firms have access to everything, but they get incentivized to do one thing. Versus an independent, they have access to everything, and they don't necessarily have any incentive to do one thing over another. Yeah. The third thing is find someone in your niche, okay? There are generalists in the financial space where they can work with anybody, and if you're a doctor, they'll work with you. If you're a business owner, they'll work with you. If you're an attorney, they'll work with you. And then there's firms that are built specifically for the world you're in. There are firms out there that only work with dentists, only work with attorneys. Find that firm because they will understand the world that you live in. And that is the most valuable piece. I understand the world of a business owner. Scott, if you were a neurosurgeon that worked for a big hospital, I really wouldn't even know where to begin. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's just having that specialization is key.
And we could talk if we have time at the end. I mean, you've got several successful businesses. So it's not like you're the one you're obviously doing here and we're talking about, but outside of this, where you apply a lot of the same principles that you teach and whatever, some of the things you talked about earlier that help make this successful, I'm sure you're applying to those businesses as well. Is that true?
Yeah. Kind of lost count on the ventures we're a part of at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how success principles that drive success seem to cross over to all kinds of different.
Translate.
That's right.
Absolutely.
There's a map out there. There are cheat codes out there. There are business and life hacks. People just need to follow them and actually do them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, how long does it typically take to start seeing results? How long, if I contract you, how long does it typically take before I start saving money?
Depends, right? Scott, we started working together in the middle of tax season, so you got ROI right away.
In a normal situation.
I would say impact and value is generally seen in 6 to 12 months. Financial planning isn't a transaction. It's a relationship.
I remember our first conversation when you were doing your interview with me, trying to figure out, first off, probably if I'm a fit for your organization, and then also how you might be able to help me or if you could. And then I asked you at the end, all right, so what is your fee? How do you charge? You told me. And I said, all right, so having said that, in the first 12 months, I think I asked you, in the first 12 months, what can I expect to net save to where I can justify paying that, right? And you said, my goal is to, in the first 12 months, before we really get into a lot of the stuff, to immediately show you a way that you could save 10 times. And you did that with the follow-up call with the proposal. And I was like, and I'm not going to knock on you, but I remember it was such a no-brainer decision for me that I obviously went forward. And I remember you saying, do you want to think about it? And I'm like, first off, I'm telling you, coming from the car business, that's a question we do not ask. So, we don't ask, do you want to think about it? But I remember thinking to myself, no, I don't want to think about it. I want to get going. It's so,
I asked that because it's a time, the money commitment is the easy part for our clients. It's a time commitment. I'm only as good as the client's time that they're willing to give to us, right? So,
am I good? Am I a good client?
you're a great client. Great client. And the best part, Scott, is we have fun.
So, all right. So that's a great question or a good thing that you brought up. Let's talk about that. If someone, I know this, we have different types of clients, right?
Yeah.
On digital marketing, we have some people that want to be talking to us nonstop all the time. They're heavily involved. We have other business owners and or managers that want to talk to us once a week, once a month. It varies, right? What is the time commitment if someone wants to do this right? Typically,
it's very independently based, depending on the complexity of the clients. I have some clients that in the beginning of the call, they're like, I'm a mess. Everything is disorganized. This is going to be chaos. And I get into the in-depth conversation with them and we do our in-depth interview and they're not as bad as they sound. And the complexity is just not as bad. There's others that they are truly a mess. It's a disaster and we have to kind of start from scratch. I would say, generally speaking, in the first 90 days of us onboarding a client, we require about 6 to 8 hours a month of their time.
Yeah.
And that's face-to-face with me, working with my team. The next set of 90 days, about 4 to 6 hours a month from there. And within 6 months, we're fully onboarded. And then it's more like 1 to 2 hours a month of maintenance. And then it kind of it drops down to 1 meeting a month and then 1 meeting a quarter as things kind of get more on an autopilot basis.
Well, we have a lot of real estate investors that listen in, and it's funny because when you go, if you don't do that every day, right? And it's something you're buying, whether it's a multifamily, whatever it might be. And let's say you're doing something like that every few years, instead of making it your one of your top priorities, where you might be buying properties, 5 to 10 of these things a year, whatever it might be.
Sure.
If you're doing it here and there, when it's time to get your loan, you're getting asked for documentation all over the place, right? And that's where it can feel overwhelming. It becomes a bigger pain, a drag on time and effort when you got to get all that stuff organized. Yeah. And what I love about with what you're doing, right, is, for instance, let's say I go buy a multifamily, just did it up in Chicago, right? You get all that stuff organized for me. You talk with the bank. I don't have to deal with any of that stuff.
Yeah. And and
it doesn't cost me any extra. That's what's even better.
And that's, the firm today versus what it was, the firm today is designed to make our clients' lives easier, right? If we are involved, we are involved. We're not just, here's a product, right? We're involved in the deal auditing process. Hey, Claudio, I've got this deal. Do you think it's a good idea? We review it and then we move forward and then we deal directly with the lender and we're providing the documents, because our clients need to go they need to go grow their business. They need to go focus on what they're doing.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. You said it's your job to make your client's life easier. And I got news for everybody listening. That's the only job we really have. It doesn't matter what business you're in. How do we improve someone's life? How do we make it easier? How do we make things quicker? How do we make things more enjoyable? It's all about client experience. So you want to sell, let's go auto. Perfect. Another great example, right? You want to sell more electric vehicles? Quit talking about saving money in the environment, which I know that appeals. And there are a lot of people that have that value. If you really want to move the needle on sales, make it easier to charge, make it quicker to charge the vehicle, make things more convenient, make it so I don't have to plan a route, so I don't sit there stranded on a road, 100 miles away from everything, and because I didn't plan accordingly, and I ran out of juice. So,
Right.
or when I show up there, I don't have to wait an hour. And by the way, when I show up there, all the things are properly working. So you want to really move the needle. It's about creating better client experiences. And in the EV world, right? I'll just translate it over. It's about making things more efficient, making it
Yeah.
easier on the end user. The sooner you do
Yeah.
that, the more people gravitate to it and do it.
And that's, that translates to every industry, every business owner.
Yep.
Our job is to simply drive value in the most efficient route. And then when we were saying earlier, as a business owner in wealth management, when they butt heads, is, if you're a business owner and you need capital to run your business, and I'm your financial advisor and I'm trying to get that capital to go invest somewhere else, I'm not making your life any easier. I'm making your life harder. Right?
Well,
So
that's the other thing.
what other
That's the
solutions
other
are there?
Yeah, and that's the other advantage in working with someone like yourself, right? Is it's not just what you save me, it's not just the security and the better future and how you help me manage risk and all that type of stuff. It's also about improving my opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's about you're well connected with very powerful. We always talk about surrounding ourselves with the right people, right? Well, you're surrounded with the right people. A lot of them, your network now becomes my network,
Right.
right? And so now all of a sudden I've got a project or a venture that I want to do. I might need investors, I might need capital, I might need to pick somebody's brain or get involved with someone that knows a heck of a lot more about a specific topic than I do. I can reach out to you in your network and get that started and shorten that learning curve for me as well. I mean, there's all kinds of benefits to working with the right people.
And that's where niching is such a key concept, right? If you are an expert in a niche, not only are you of value to your clients, but your clients can then rely on you, right? Because you're right, Scott. All of my clients are Scots, right? In a bunch of different industries, whether it's,
There's only Claudio. There's only one Scott.
I personally know of two, actually.
Oh, that's right. I was referred to you by Scott Simons. That's another guy. He was a guest on the show.
But my point is the value that I can bring isn't just in the expertise, but if you have a project that needs something, I probably know somebody in that industry.
Yeah.
And similarly, if I have another client who's trying to raise capital to do something, I have access to other people that think and act and work like that individual. So the value of that network is also something that you really can't even put a number on.
Correct.
And the next layer to that is what I may have learned in doing my in-depth and working with Scott Simons as an example.
Yep.
Could have been something that I could have bring to the table for you, or what I will have learned from somebody else, or what I learned
Right.
from you, I can bring to the table for them. Right. So this is an ecosystem. It's not just here's a product. The products are just the results effectively, right? The strategy, the management, the implementation. That's where we set ourselves apart. And not just because we're different in the financial advisory space, but that niching that we kind of keep going back to, that's where the value is driven. And that's why if you're looking to get a fast start and you're looking for somebody in the space to help take your business to the next level, find someone in that niche, find someone that can become an expert in that world like you are.
What are 3 things that people could do right now? Simple, right? That people could do right now that would net them more money at the end of the year, whether it's through tax savings, whatever it might be. And then let's dive in and take it a little bit further.
Yeah. So instead of getting very specific on strategy, because I don't know in everybody's world, right? The first thing is, if you want to save money on taxes, find a proactive CPA. That's it. If you are not meeting with your tax team, your CPA, before the year is over to discuss what can be done, it's too late. So once 12/31 comes and goes, you can't really do anything. There are very little things that you can do that can drive any impact. So by meeting with your CPA, meeting with your tax team, September, October, November, to make sure that you have an understanding of where your year is and what strategies can we do now, that's going to save you in tax planning, just that one thing alone. Two, make sure your team understands your vision. Make sure your financial advisor, your banker, your CPA, your insurance professional, and your attorney, make sure they understand your vision. If they don't know where you're going, how can they help you effectively? So the best example is I met with a client. He was in the process of growing his business and he wanted to acquire a competitor. And we started going through this and we reviewed his tax returns, and his adjusted gross income was $68,000, even though he was making closer to almost seven figures. And his CPA, according to his CPA, had done an unbelievable job saving him money in taxes. When this client was going to go get an SBA loan to go acquire that competitor, he was declined.
Yeah.
He had no verifiable income. So did the CPA really help him? Or did he just cut his legs out from underneath him?
Yeah.
Having your team understand where you're going will help them be better for you. So that may not directly create value right away, but it will create value in the long run. And the third thing would be work with your financial professional to help you double dip your money. And we
What
do
you
this
mean
all
by
the time. It's in today's world, in such a low interest rate environment, using leverage effectively can help you expand rapidly and grow net worth at a very high level, right? So for us to be able to put money to work at an effective performance rate, borrow the money back out and go into a different development or a real estate play or a venture capital play, you've now used the same dollar in two separate places. And you've become the bank. Instead of using the bank and paying the bank, you've become the bank. And now you are paying yourself to do those two deals. Again, kind of high level. I'm not sure if it applies to everybody in the audience, but the strategy with the right team will drive impact.
And so what are some things that people can do on their taxes real quick that a lot of people can do, but not a lot of people are aware that they could do? Let's throw that out there real quick. And then I want to dive into some really get into some
The
really
hot
jamming
topic
type
right
stuff.
now is employee retention tax credits. That's huge. So if you haven't explored that opportunity, if you're a business owner and you stayed in business, retained your quality employees through COVID, 2020, 2021, the employee retention tax credit is something that you likely qualify for in some capacity. So working with the right professional to make sure you qualify, we're talking about, a refund of payroll taxes that you already paid. Okay. And it can be up to $26,000 per employee. So let's just say it's an average of $20,000 per employee and you have 20 employees. That's a number.
Yeah.
Right. So that's first. I would look at that. Two, if you're in the real estate world or you're thinking about getting into the real estate world, or maybe you just got into the real estate world, cost segregation studies can be very, very beneficial to your overall bottom line. Augusta strategies, the 280A exclusion, making sure that your salary.
All right, hold on here.
Is,
Don't just be throwing out fancy words that no one knows what the heck they're talking about. When we're just talking about Augusta strategies, I know what it is only because you've told me. But what about the audience here? What do you mean by that?
The Augusta strategy is the ability for you to be able to rent your home to your business for business purposes. And you can do that up to 14 days. And the income that you would receive from your business isn't taxable, or it's at least excluded. So it's a nice little tax benefit there. There's limitations, there's qualification processes, there's documentation. So definitely talk to your CPA to make sure you qualify. And if you do qualify, make sure you document appropriately and you follow all the specific rules there. But it's black and white. It's either works for you or it doesn't. It's pretty simple.
All right. What do you think stops most people when it's time to align their business decisions with their actual financial goals? And then how do you help people get around that?
I think it's time. I think it's, we talk about our most limited resource being time, but I truly think the most limited resource is attention. And I don't
Well,
think people pay
that's
enough
definitely
attention.
mine.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think people pay enough attention to where they're going. I'm certainly to blame at times where I don't pick up my head and look at the direction in which I'm leading my business in. And I'm
Yeah.
certainly not paying attention to it on a regular basis. So I think that's the biggest reason. And that's when I say, are you sure you want to move forward, Scott? Like, you don't want to sleep on it, think about it. Like, it's not a money commitment. It's a time commitment and it's an attention commitment, right? It's
Yep.
making sure that we have the capacities to effectively implement these strategies, because we're not going to half-ass it.
Yeah. Where do you think the big opportunities when it comes to wealth management are today?
Frankly, in today's space, we are primarily focusing on preparing clients into the next phase of this economic cycle. As a business owner myself, with my clients being business owners, I want to make sure that what is down this road is something that our clients can not only survive, but they can thrive. Okay. And I think as an economic cycle, we have likely some rough times ahead. I think we have a hyperinflationary environment. I think we have a situation where taxes are rising. So I'm not saying we're definitely going to be going into a major economic depression or recession. I'm certainly not making any predictions, but I'm also not ruling it out. And during those times, I would rather be prepared and that time not show up than be caught without being prepared for it. So for a lot of my clients, everybody else, we're talking through, okay, if we have a slowdown in economic growth and we have a bearish market, which means market continuously going down, we have a rising inflationary environment where interest rates are going up, cost of goods are going up, taxes are going up. What can we do today to prepare to capitalize on that?
Right.
Okay. Because as business owners, myself included, you, Scott, everybody, we ultimately want to continue to grow our business. Okay. And the best way to do that is to prepare to take over market share. Because the individuals who are not prepared for this next economic cycle, their clients are going to be looking for a marketing firm, and J&L will be there to pick them up.
Yep.
Right. So
that's the goal.
Right. And maybe that answered your question, maybe that didn't. And I'm certainly not going to say, hey, this is what I'm doing from a portfolio perspective, because it's very specific to each individual. But from a wealth management perspective, managing wealth, right, just truly at that very, very basic level, is preparing for the next cycle of opportunities and threats.
All right. So let me ask you this. Where do you feel like there might be a lot of business leaders making mistakes or missing the boat, so to speak?
Well, kind of going back to it, I think one, lack of attention in the direction that they're going from an overall management perspective.
What do you think causes that lack of attention on it?
Busyness.
Yeah. For me, I can speak to you personally. For me, right? It's busyness. It's if you're not, let's just put it this way. If you're not really great at something, if you don't know as much as you feel like you should know, it's not something you necessarily always gravitate to. It's not something you enjoy doing, right? And it's not that it's not an enjoyable topic or it's just that I know I'm not great at that. That's not my strength. It's not my superpower. I'm going to spend more time where I'm good. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think, and it's easy when it's time to focus on these things, or maybe at the beginning of the year, you set goals and say, all right, this is the year I start to optimize all this stuff. I want to make sure I put my house in order, so to speak. Right. And then all of a sudden you get distracted because something you're really good at or a new opportunity comes out and you want to pay more attention there.
Right. Right. And I think that's at a basic level, right? Um, why you exist, why I exist, is if we can bring the right professionals into our realm and shift off the responsibilities, we don't have to become experts, right?
Yeah.
We trust J&L Marketing to do a great job there. I no longer have to pay attention to that. So I can pay attention to something else.
Yeah.
And that's key in generating value. That's key in growing. That's key in scaling, and it's key in driving vision. And if you understand where you're going, we can reverse engineer that to today and say, okay, if you want to sell in 5 years, here are the action items we need to be taking on a day by day basis to make that a reality. Having the right accountability, right? I don't know, Scott, if you do, but I have 2 coaches. I have a life coach and I have a business coach. They help me stay aligned to the vision and where I want my life to go and where I want my business to go. And we're all in business to make money and have freedom. So the business is really nothing more than just a wealth engine, time and money wealth engine that's going to fuel and fund our personal visions. So making sure that my personal vision and my business visions are aligned and running on parallel tracks are key.
Yeah.
So not to kind of get too mindset and philosophical on you, but it all trickles down to the decisions you make.
Well, but everything you're saying here, when I talk to different business leaders or different experts about a variety of different topics on the show, ultimately, some of the things you just brought up in terms of just how you manage yourself, your mind, how you focus. Are you the type of person that finishes strong? Do you have limiting beliefs or do you have empowering beliefs? All this type of stuff, your mindset. Gosh, we've talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. The reality is, and I go back to an interview I did with Anthony Trucks, so ex-NFL football player. And I asked him, what's the first thing people have to do in order to achieve success and this and that? And he says, drop the ego. He goes, we want to hear how we can improve. We want to hear what things we need to do. But it's our ego that typically keeps us, I don't want to say lazy, but it's our ego that keeps us from actually doing what needs to be done. Right. So we sit here and we say all these things over and over again, right? These are life hacks, but you got to do them. You just talked about coaches. There are all kinds of trainers out there. You got to find the right one. Trainers, mentors, coaches, whatever label we want to put on it. You still got to find the right one. But more importantly, when you start listening to it, a lot of times they're not going to tell you anything that's drastically new. They don't have any silver bullet. The key to it all is implementing it, integrating it into your life, changing your mindset.
I'll drop a nugget from my coach, who I've been working with since 2014. His name's Ben Newman, by the way. Probably the best investment I've ever made, next to marrying my wife.
Your wife's great, by the way.
Yeah, she's okay. No, I'm just kidding. She's awesome. No, the best piece of advice I've gotten from Ben, and he hasn't really changed. It's kind of just reminding me of it, is operating from a position that it's a standard, not operating from how I'm feeling. So I know what I have to do every day to be a great father, a great business owner, a great husband. I know what those things are. And whether I choose to do them or not is up to me. And I need to make those decisions based upon the standard I set for myself, not based upon how I feel that day, right? Because there's going to be days where I feel super motivated and I'm going to crush the day. And then there's going to be days where I'm super tired, lackadaisical. Maybe my newborn is not sleeping. Am I going to let those feelings dictate how I show up every single day as a father, as a husband, as a business owner, as an employer? Yeah. And that has been the driving force on the decisions that I make. I have a subset of things I have to accomplish every day in those roles, and how I feel doesn't dictate that. And the consistency day after day after day today has led to a situation where the guilt I feel by not doing what I know I have to do is too much for me to even mess with. I'd rather just do the work,
Yeah.
So that the standard over feelings approach for me has been a great compass in business growth, management, husband, father, every role that I play in my life.
I love the phrase that you use, show up. I always tell people, and I get this, the most successful people, they're very unique and they show up like nobody else. Right. And not every day they're feeling great. But when they walk through that door, they're at level 10 or higher and they're ready to roll. And at least, sometimes they got to fake it a little bit in themselves to get themselves in that stuff. And right, we change our physiology, we change our breathing, we change the way we're acting and moving. When I'm not feeling right, I'm more sluggish. I'm moving slower. But it doesn't take much to change me out of that. I can change my physiology, my breathing patterns. I can get more active, get a little bit more energy in my step, and it changes me up here as well. So, quick, easy things that we can do to manipulate those things. Where do you see a lot of business leaders wasting time when it comes to financial planning? Like, all right, they spend a lot of time doing this, but the impact that I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like Mr. Poro, right?
Yep.
Simple gets done.
Yep.
And I think it's better done than perfect. There's never going to be the right time. The situations are never going to be perfect. The time is never going to align itself. Have the conversation. Make sure that you take the time to schedule a meeting with somebody and just have the conversation. The right individual will take an hour out of your day and create 20 hours of benefit on your behalf.
Yeah, and I want to. So we're broadcasting this live. We're over YouTube and
I can't hear you. I lost
Facebook.
you.
Oh, can you hear me? I'm active on here. I think it might be your
Can you hear
speaker.
me?
Yep.
I can't hear you.
I am. It's showing my mic is live. Hold on here. Let me do a mic text real quick. Hello, hello. Yeah, my mic's live. I think it's on your speaker. Oh, hold on here. We're private chat. For those of you in the audience, we are now doing a private chat because Claudio cannot hear me. So quick technical thing here. Hang on a second. Might be your speakers.
There you are. I hear you.
All right. Did something happen there?
Wait, you just went away. Hold on. Can you say something?
Hello.
Oh, there you are. I can hear you now. I don't know what happened.
All right. I'm going to blame this on user error on your end because my mic.
I'll take it. Sorry about that.
That's all right. All right. So I was asking you where a lot of people waste their time in terms of business leaders and stuff like that. But what I was going to say is we're broadcasting live, whether it's through YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And what I wanted to make sure that people understand is because on some platforms, the way we stream this, we use StreamYard. Sometimes I get the questions on here, depending on what platform they use. A lot of times I do not get some of the questions. So we have to go back in. So I'm going to encourage you, Claudio, you want to go back into like either Facebook or YouTube or wherever and LinkedIn and answer any questions that might have been asked that didn't come through this feed.
Yeah,
so
don't
get discouraged. Keep typing your questions. We'll definitely get to them at some point.
Yeah.
And then also, and I'll bring this up. I bring this up all the time at the end. I hope people subscribe to whether it's our Facebook group as well, because you're a member of that group. If you're not a member, I'm pretty sure you are, but if you're not a member, you need to join that because Claudio will be in there. And if you got any questions in there, you can ask him as well. But where do you think, getting back on track here, what kind of results can someone expect if they do things? If something is fully, if you've got this thing operating on all cylinders, right, and it's optimized the way it should be, everything's set up properly. Two questions. First off, how long does it typically take to get someone from point A to point B? And then once they're there, what are the type of results someone can expect?
Well, one, I say it generally takes 90 days to fully onboard a client.
Okay.
To get them from they say yes to us to they're onboarded and we're in the works. And then the results are kind of based on them. It's hard for me to specifically quantify. But what I can guarantee is that we will never be a cost. We're always a profit center for every single one of our clients. If we can't create ROI immediately, then it's not a good fit, because it has to be a situation where we're driving value to their bottom line, period. And that value may be tax savings. That value may be a peace of mind. The work we do stays in the risk management world. We do a lot of asset protection work, a lot of risk management planning, making sure that no matter what happens, our clients are financially bulletproof. So that could be very valuable to them, depending on the stage of life they're in. The tax planning is an easy, like, do this, and this, and you pay this X, and now you just save 3 times X.
I hear the term financial advisor, financial planner, wealth manager. We have a lot of overused words in our industry. And my gut tells me that those are probably pretty overused in the industry you're in. I mean, I've worked with people in the past that called themselves wealth managers, and I can tell you they were nothing more than glorified brokers
or babysitters.
Correct. And so to me, a wealth manager or someone that does what you guys are doing, they should be able to tackle everything. I shouldn't have to mess with. First off, I don't want to have to bring in 4 or 5 people into one meeting and try to corral that and organize that and then make sure they're all talking and working together properly. To me, a true wealth manager understands what I need from risk management and insurance situations, investment opportunities. And I'm not just talking about stocks. I'm talking about banking relationships and real estate and all this other stuff that goes with this stuff.
And that's
what is the right term? I say financial planner, advisor. Well, man, what is the right term?
There really isn't. And it's funny because we GFG Solutions, we're consultants, because we consult with our clients in the life that they live in. We have a wealth management platform. We have an insurance platform. We have a tax platform. We have an asset protection platform. We have all those things that we can bring to the table. But let's just say the client has a really good financial advisor. Maybe it's someone they really trust or a family member that they really like. We're going to work directly with that individual. And that's why, whether it's us or anybody else out there, if you're looking for somebody in the space, make sure they are a fiduciary. It's key. Make sure they are being paid a fee for the advice, a fee for the strategy. Because if that's the person you're working with, they likely have expertise in a very holistic world. Versus if you are not paying a fee, you are likely paying a fee via a product that you are buying. So,
let me ask you this question. Are there any other questions that a business leader should be asking someone like yourself if they want to succeed at a high level? Like, what are some of the best, you brought into the, fiduciary and stuff like that, but what are some of the, when you get into specifics about ideas and strategies, what are some of the best questions you've either received or you would advise business leaders to ask
of someone like myself?
Yep.
First and foremost, I would get a sample of their client base. True examples, a sample of their client base. Like, hey, what does your average client look like? Yeah. The second thing is I would get a high level understanding of their past life. You know what I mean? I would want to know the experiences that they've had. Because the experiences that your advisor has had is going to ultimately drive how they make decisions on your behalf.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really crucial. But to be successful, Scott, is truly understanding the firm. Okay. So if you're a business owner, a business leader, an entrepreneur, and you're looking to hire somebody in this space, go get a good understanding of what the firm stands for, what the firm works on, the kind of firm that they are. And that'll give you a really good baseline understanding. And then a little secret, be very aware of the recommendations that are being made. Okay.
How do you mean? What do you mean? Be more specific there.
So being aware of the recommendations that are being made will give you somewhat of an insight of that individual, that firm, and what they're likely to be leaning towards. So if an individual makes more recommendations that are aggressive, they're likely to make more aggressive decisions. If they're making decisions and recommendations that are more conservative, they're likely a more conservative firm. And make sure that aligns with who you are as an individual or who you are as a business owner.
How would you rank me as a client? Am I conservative or aggressive?
You can't rank Scott. You can't put Scott in a box. No, it's funny. We've had a lot of fun. You make some really conservative decisions that I really appreciate, and then you make some decisions that I'm just like, oh.
Well, that's why I got you. You're supposed to tell me about those.
Yeah, no, I do. Remember the ego conversation? No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So let me ask you this. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just think, as a high level, for anybody listening today, we've covered so much in such different ranges. But I think the most important thing out of them all is that if you're going down the path with somebody in this space, make sure you like them, right? And make sure they like you. Like when Scott calls my phone, I look forward to the conversation. I don't dread it. I do. And that's the kind of relationship you want to have with whoever that person is, because they're integrated into your life. When Trish calls, I look forward to having the conversation with her. I know who she is. I know Sophia. I know Scott. I know my clients. And that's probably the most important piece, is you want to have somebody that you can truly rely on.
Yeah. What final thoughts do you have that'll help motivate business leaders get started in this or take financial planning to the next level?
Well, we are in relatively unprecedented times as a business owner. And it's funny because when COVID first started, we took time, again, because we are focused on a fee basis, not on a product. We had the flexibility to take the time and study what companies did that thrived in 2008 through that whole mess, thrived, like grew. And what companies did that simply survived, right? They just stayed open. And we learned there were very key specific things that companies did. And the one thing that I would say, we are in unprecedented times, and what's happening next. We've done this as a country before, but not at this pace. Interest rates have gone up, inflation has gone up, taxes have gone up. We haven't done it at the pace in which we're doing it in. So we don't really know what's on the other side of this.
Right.
So the same rules apply. So if you're not having a financial planning conversation with somebody and you're a business leader, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, to prepare yourself and get yourself ready to thrive instead of simply survive, you're doing yourself a disservice. And really, I won't keep it a secret. The three things that companies did to thrive: one, they cut the fat. They took opportunities inside of their P&Ls and reduced expenses on things that were wants, not needs. Okay.
Yep.
And they used that surplus to reinvest in their infrastructure.
Yep.
Two, they were very, very liquid, staying liquid, whether it's liquidity in cash, liquidity in leverage. They had access to capital. The best had both cash and access to capital. Okay. And 3, they stayed away from shiny objects. They did not just, ooh, opportunity, I want it. Ooh, opportunity, I want it. There are a lot of opportunities today. In 2 years, it will be 3 or 4 times as many opportunities as they are today, and they will be cheaper and better.
Why do you say that?
Just from an economic cycle perspective, we believe that there is going to be an economic slowdown.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's just look at the car market. The over MSRP world that we live in today, is that something that's sustainable? And for how long?
Yeah, well, inventory is going to be an issue all the way into 23. So
Oh, yeah.
we'll see where that lasts. But let me ask you this question. I wanted to end there, but you brought up something I'm curious about with interest. First off, everyone's worried about these interest rates. They're actually still low. The problem is we're comparing them to the way they've been for the last few years, right? So in comparison to recent events, they're extremely high, but overall, they're average. They're not high. They're not low, right? They're just right about where they need to be, but they're going up.
Right.
And so my question is to you, how do you see that impacting real estate if people are out there buying multifamily and investment type properties? Obviously, if you want those to cash flow, well, interest rate is going to play a big role in that because it's going to have an impact on your monthly expense, right? So how do you see that impacting the real estate market, specifically interest rate?
Interest rate by itself, Scott, I don't think will be a big issue in that space, specifically in that commercial multifamily project level, because there are multiple different tranches of money, right? It's not just one tranche of money. The issue, I believe, is the combination of inflation and interest rates together, right? Because let's just boil it down to a single family house. If you're buying a house today for $500,000 and you're paying a 5% interest rate, your mortgage payment, $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
A year ago, that same house was $400,000 at 3%. That's $1,600 a month. That's a big swing in a year. What is it going to be a year from now? At 8% at $600,000. So the fact that inventory is still low and interest rates are going up, driving prices up, is what is really the issue. And in the multifamily space, the risk premium for these dollar tranches are getting higher. So every piece, every tranche of money you can go grab, whether it's bank money, joint venture money, hard money, whatever it may look like, that's just getting more and more expensive. And then the price of the asset's getting more and more expensive. Yep. But at some point, you do see a slowdown. And economists, every single one that I'm reading and every single one that I'm kind of just studying, all are saying the same thing. They just have different time frames.
Yeah.
Some say it's 3 years, some say it's 18 months, some say it's 5 years. And you know what they say, economists never get it wrong, they're just never on time. So it's just a matter of when, not if.
So you're saying fix the roof while it's sunny,
mm-hmm.
and don't wait for the rainy day.
I would say start a roofing company.
Yeah. All right. I want to thank Claudio Gambin for a great interview. I'm sure the business leaders in our audience learned a lot from these questions about financial planning and how they can apply the answers to their own situation. I want to thank him very much for sharing your expertise and your experiences. Can you tell us a little bit about GFG Solutions? And then I want to make sure that we've got the correct web address on, because you just changed this over, gfgsolutions.com. So if you want to learn more about Claudio and GFG Solutions, go to gfgsolutions.com. But go ahead and tell us a little bit more about what you're doing there.
Yeah, GFG Solutions is our consulting firm. On the quick one, it's where we work with our clients on a fee basis to help them with strategy on everything we just discussed today and more. So you can find us at gfgsolutions.com. Claudio at gfgsolutions.com is my email. Instagram is at GFG Solutions. And then kind of we just recently launched our podcast to get very, very tactical on the stuff. And that's at Invest the Difference podcast, Invest the Difference podcast. So a lot of different ways you can connect with us. And Scott has all of our info too. So if you really, really needed it, Scott can send it.
So Invest the Difference, correct? Podcast. All right. So we'll put that on our website as well, so people can have that information in the description of the show. Because eventually this is live right now. We'll turn it in and put it on for a podcast where people can download it and or watch it. It'll be on YouTube and everywhere else, or you can go to movecrushcount.com. So again, I want to thank Claudio for sharing with us. Make sure you visit gfgsolutions.com. And thank you all the business leaders in our audience for joining us with one of the top financial planning experts around today. I got to tell you, he's done, I am telling you without a shadow of doubt, he's done wonders for me in two ways: financially, but just peace of mind. And I'll put that up there as high as the financial gain, but it was quick, it was immediate. And I love the direction you got me going, and you've made my life a lot easier. So thank you for that as well. I want to make sure you follow or subscribe to Move Crush Count podcast at movecrushcount.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. You can join our groups on Facebook and LinkedIn, where our experts like Claudio are there, and they can help answer any questions you may have, and you'll get notified on future guests and new episodes. Today's interview was sponsored by J&L Marketing. J&L is a digital and direct marketing agency that delivers results with strategies that help you outsmart competitors so you don't have to outspend them. You want to move the crowd, crush the competition, and count the money. I want you to check out J&L Marketing, and they'll save you hours of time by doing free competitive analysis that delivers the most actionable, tactical, and timely digital marketing tips you need so you can outsmart those competitors and, once again, not outspend them. It's about outsmarting people. Everybody have a great day. Thank you.